Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Lammersville Unified Board of Education to order at 7 o'clock. Just a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded, so please turn off or silence your cell phones at this time. And if anyone would like to make public comments, there are blue cards in the back. Please fill one out so we know when to call you. Can we have Lammersville come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Principal Duran.
Hello, Dr. Nicholas, Board. Thank you for having us tonight. I have two of my leadership students that continue to help create a positive and memorable experience for all our Lammersville Lions, so I'm going to have them come up to share what's going on at Lammersville. I have Miss Alyssa Vieira and Lily Pantoja. Come on up.
Welcome.
I am Alyssa Vieira, and this is Lily Pantoja. And we had the opportunity to be a part of the Lammersville family ever since kindergarten. As you can see, these are some pictures showing some of our Lions on our first day back to school. We have our disco dance coming up. Our K-8 dance theme this year will be Disco Dance, which is on September 29th. We also have our homecoming parade. ASB is working on our homecoming parade with the theme Narnia. It is still a work in progress, but we for sure know our mascot Leo will be playing the Leo Aslan.
On September 15th, we are hosting our second annual Splashathon. This is an opportunity to dunk your teacher and pie Mrs. Duran in the face. Lammersville will be organizing Halloween events for the whole school to enjoy. ASB created their first spirit wear of the year. More designs coming soon. ASB is excited for Youth Leadership Day at Great America. They will have the opportunity to listen to motivational speakers to help create stronger leaders. Thank you. Any questions?
No question, just a comment. I hope both of you young ladies have the opportunity to put a pie in Principal Duran's face. Can board members get in on that?
So how much is it? So how much is it to throw a pie per pie? $250. I might be in for one.
Thank you.
Very much.
ladies.
Great job.
Thank you.
Item 2, roll call, please.
Lisa Boulay,
Here.
Colin Clements,
Here.
Benita Daniel,
Here.
Stephanie Olson,
Here.
David Pombo,
Here.
Devika Vitulani.
Here.
Item 3, approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
Yes, we're going to table item H. We had a faux pas and we uploaded the wrong contract into the agenda item. It won't have any impact on anything. We'll just pull it till next week or the next board meeting. Sorry.
Move to approve the agenda as corrected.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Olson and seconded by Trustee Boulay. Student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Item 4, presentations. We have a presentation from some Mountain House High School students that did a project at Cordis School. Can they please come forward?
Good evening, President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Thank you for allowing these students an opportunity to share what they worked on last school year. And so I am pleased to introduce Arhant Sarnakar and Shrimayi Gupta.
Thank you everyone for giving us time to present this evening. My name is Arhant. I'm a sophomore at Mountain House High School.
My name is Shrimai. I am a junior at Mountain House High School.
And these are some updates on Cautious Cheetah, which is a traffic safety education program that we've been developing over the past year. For some background, earlier this year, we used a survey to ask Mountain House residents what their top concerns were as a resident of Mountain House. And among those concerns, we saw that traffic safety around school zones was one of their key issues. So to investigate this issue further, we decided to conduct a traffic study to identify the causes of traffic safety issues around schools. And we decided to use Cortez Elementary as a pilot site for this study. And based on these identified causes, we learned that education around this issue was lacking for both students and parents. And we decided to develop a solution to help reduce traffic safety issues.
So going more into our project implementation, we had 2 curriculums and campaigns for students and parents. So first, our student curriculum included a video presentation on traffic safety that we made on site at Cortez Elementary, including some traffic safety scenarios such as the do's and don'ts of crossing a street, like using a crosswalk and not going through any landscaping or bushes. We also coded an interactive game on Scratch that included similar scenarios for students to play. And we also had a parent awareness campaign for the parents. So we made signage for around the school that was approved by Mr. McDonald. We had a social media engagement campaign using WhatsApp and Facebook groups to encourage parents to follow traffic safety rules that we made based on our observations in the traffic study at Cortez that we conducted throughout several weeks. We had daily reminders on traffic safety as well as daily dashboards with updates on traffic incident trends throughout the week. And here you can see a few pictures of our project. We have a couple of signage images, and we have some of our daily dashboards that we posted on WhatsApp and Facebook for the parents.
So in this table here, we summarize the outcomes of our student education program. So we gathered this data based on a pre-assessment that we gave students before they began the program and a post-assessment once they had completed it. So in total, we had about 353 students from grades 4th through 8th grade participate in our program. And we divided the data into 2 categories. So students who were walking to school and students who were being dropped off to school. So as you can see, the split is about pretty even. So about 50% of students were walking to school and about 50% were driving to school. But where it becomes different is in the percentage of correct responses in different scenarios. So for students who were walking to school, we found that only 42% of students had correct responses to the questions we asked. And for students who were being dropped off to school, that number was much higher, so 76%. So we understood this, meaning that the students who were walking to school, there was much more room for improvement for them than students who were being driven to school. And we did see a lot of improvement. So based on the post-assessment, we found that there was a 33% improvement in knowledge for students who were walking to school and a 6% improvement in knowledge for students who were being driven to school. And we calculated this number based on a percent change from pre to post. And overall, we had an 18.66% improvement in knowledge for the entire program for students, both students who were walking to school and being dropped off to school. And these are just some key takeaways of our program. So one thing to note is that based on the pre-survey, we found that already on average, 56.6% of students knew the traffic safety rules that were in place at Cortez. And using the post-assessment, we also asked for some feedback from students. So as you can see, 75% of students found our video presentation informative, and about 70% of students found our video game informative.
Moving on to our parent campaign outcomes. So the biggest improvement we saw was in the driving behavior of parents in the drop-off lane. So as there was less incidents of unattended vehicles and more people started pulling all the way forward into the driveway. However, on the other hand, we have the walking incidents, the parent behavior while they were walking to school. There was some jaywalking and walking through bushes incidents. Throughout our campaign week, we didn't observe them as much, but on the last day, on Friday, we started to see see many more occurrences happen. So overall, more work is needed to change the parents' behavior in following traffic safety rules around schools, especially in walking scenarios. And here we have a graph of the traffic safety occurrences throughout the week. Each color represents a different scenario. So blue is jaywalking, red is walking through landscaping, and yellow is driving issues. We can kind of see the occurrences decrease in the middle of the week, but again, they spike back up on Friday towards the end of the week. And these are just some of the pictures we have during our project. One of them is meeting with Mr. McDonald and Mr. Dillon. And then the rest of the images are us at our Destination Imagination competition where we presented this project. We won second at regionals and second at California States.
So we'd just like to give thanks to some people. First of all, we'd like to thank our main collaborator, Mr. Darren McDonald, who's the principal of Julius Cortez Elementary. And without him and without his help, this project definitely wouldn't have been possible. We'd also like to thank Ms. Tingle and Mr. Dillon for helping us start our project and pointing us in the right direction. We'd also like to thank Ms. Harmon Carr, who is a community service district member, and she helped us kind of connect us to the groups that would make this project possible. And among those groups was the LUSD Safety Committee, and we'd also like to thank members of that committee, who include Mr. Thorsten Harrison, Mr. David Pombo, Ms. Stephanie Olson, and Ms. Irene Busatil. And finally, we'd just like to thank the 4th through 8th grade teachers and students of Cortez Elementary.
So if you guys would like further information and to contact us for further details about our projects, such as any data or numbers or what our next steps are, our emails are up there, and that is a QR code to our website that has more information on our project methodology.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments by the board?
I would like to say thank you for coming to present your entire project. This is impressive. Sadly, the data probably didn't have the outcome that we were hoping for. I know that behaviors, especially of parents who are set in their ways, is very challenging to change, but I think it's important that you've addressed an issue that is critical to our school district. So thanks again, and congratulations on your success with the competitions too.
I have been following your project on social media, so it's been a great realization, and also about the data. That was excellent presentation, and I particularly love the what do you call those, the posters?
Signage.
The signage, thank you. Yeah, especially don't cross the bushes and so on. So that was great. Thank you for presenting, and thank you for also kind of letting us know Friday is the day. We need to be more cautious. So thank you so much. Great job.
Thank you.
I would echo that, just say fantastic job. And congratulations on taking second at state.
Yeah, I just want to echo that too. And it was an honor to be on the safety committee, to hear your initial presentation and to see you carry it through. And I look forward to hearing where you might take this next.
Thank you very much. Item 5, committee reports. District Advisory Committee. Trustee Boulay.
Nothing to report for the District Advisory Committee.
District English Language Committee. Trustee Boulay.
Thank you. On August 24th, the District English Learner Advisory Committee met for the first time this academic year. At that meeting, Executive Director Busatil introduced herself, and we met the DLAC representatives from all of the school sites. There was a few minutes to talk about celebrations, and in the announcements, there were several schools that have already completed their initial ELAC assessments for the year. So we're moving along in terms of initial assessments. Executive Director Busatil also talked about how English learners are identified, how they're reclassified, and she reviewed the local control accountability plan and how English learners are addressed in the plan. There were several families that attended the meeting, and they had an opportunity to learn about the EL program and to ask questions. And our next meeting will be October 26th at the Cordis MPR. And in addition to the regular meeting, this will be also a reclassification celebration for those students who have successfully completed the program. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. The Education Committee, there's nothing to report other than that our next meeting is October 17th at 6:30 in the Professional Development Center. The Facilities Committee, Trustee Olson.
The next Facilities Committee meeting will be on Thursday, September 21st at 6:30 p.m. here in the district office boardroom.
Thank you. Policy Committee, Trustee Daniel.
None to report.
Thank you. And the Safety Committee, there's nothing to report other than that our next meeting will be held on September 13th at 3:45 in the district office boardroom. Wellness Committee, Trustee Olson.
The next Wellness Committee meeting will be on Wednesday, October 11th at 3:45 p.m. at the Professional Development Center.
Thank you. Moving on to Governing Board reports. Student Trustee Davika.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, esteemed board members. I would like to start off by thanking you all for such a wonderful opportunity. And as this would be my first district report, I would like to start from the beginning. So this includes when all of the Lammersville Unified School District schools had their first school day on August 3rd, 2023. From Mountain House High School, we have a few club updates. The Lawn Society class participated in the Empire online mock trial at the end of May, and two students, Hamsika Nitala and Rohan Prashant, received 2 awards of Outstanding Witness and Outstanding Attorney. HOSA held their first meeting on August 10th with over 230 members joining. Speech and Debate held their first meeting on Wednesday, August 9th, and their first UK season opener tournament is this weekend. At the end of the month, the Stephen Stewart Invitational is scheduled. DECA held their first meeting on Monday, August 24th, and Club Fair was held on August 29th and 31st, allowing over 90 clubs to display their stands and encourage more high school students to participate in the offered extracurricular activities. ASB updates. Mountain House High School's leadership class was able to hold their welcome back rally with all of the students on August 7th. We had freshman elections on August 21st, and leadership had a Leadership Development Day conference with all of the surrounding Tracy High Schools. We learned a lot about collaboration with the surrounding high schools and how we can improve our school's leadership with guest speaker Bradisha Ransom. I would like to take a moment to recognize the students of the month, starting off with Jacob Dodge, who works to create a wonderful learning environment. Senior of the month, Ella Estrella, who is a senior on the girls' flag football team. And leadership has been working quite hard towards homecoming, which is scheduled for October 21st. Moving on to sporting updates. Last month, varsity football defeated McNair High School by 12 points. This marked the first time that Mountain House High School has defeated a Stockton team on their home turf. Thursday, 17th of August, a girls' volleyball scrimmage versus Tracy, a girls' flag football game versus Millennium, and a freshman football game versus Tokay. August 21st, girls' volleyball foundation game versus Kimball. August 22nd, girls' flag football at Tracy. August 24th, girls' flag football at Patterson and freshman football at Patterson as well. August 25th, JV and varsity football at Patterson. On September 1st, the MHHS night at Stockton Ports was scheduled. Mr. Auerbach, Miss Gallagher, and Miss Scary all cheered on the ports with their students in section 117. And this Friday, we have a Mountain House High School football game versus Tracy High. The theme is Lights Out, and all students will dress in all black. This will be our first home game, and all the students are very excited. The athlete of the month is Iriah Graham, who was the captain of the golf team and led the girls' team to a huge win against Pacheco and Los Banos. Additional high school updates. Additionally, Mountain House High School is proud to present 20 new staff members, leading to no vacancies, which is quite rare for any school. Our principal, Mr. Auerbach, wants to express his gratitude for the additional security staff, which truly contributes to every school's mission, providing a safe environment for all students. Continuing on to the elementary and middle school. Since K-8 ASB presidents are yet to be decided, here are the updates found through the school web pages. To start off, Bethany. On August 9th, they had their back to school night. August 23rd, picture day. August 29th and 30th, volleyball tryouts. September 5th, the ELAC meeting. September 15th, progress report cards go home. And a Lammersville versus Bethany Elementary School volleyball game. And September 9th, a Hanson Elementary and Bethany Elementary School volleyball game. For Lammersville School District, on August 9th, they had their back to school night. August 31st, the 8th graders had their Blaze Pizza fundraiser. And throughout the month, they were given character trait overviews. The Lammersville Elementary School Fall Dance pre-sale starts, and they have their Splashathon fundraiser to collect sponsorships from August 21st through September 6th. Corda School had their back-to-school night on August 9th and began their volleyball tryouts for their JV team. They have a game scheduled for August 15th and September 19th. Costa Elementary School, which is the newest school in our Lammersville School District, had their back-to-school night on August 15th and have volleyball games scheduled for September 12th, 14th, and 19th. Hanson Elementary School had their back-to-school night on August 10th, and August 12th and 14th, they had their home volleyball games. September 19th, they have an away volleyball game. Cuesta Elementary School had their back-to-school night on August 10th. August 14th, they had their picture day. August 16th, they had volleyball tryouts. And they have several QSF meetings. For all the new ASB presidents for the middle schools, a welcoming activity is under progress. That concludes my report for this week. Thank you.
Thank you for that very thorough report. Trustee Daniel.
Thank you, President. On August 29th, I attended the MHHS Club Rush Day. It was amazing to see all the different clubs and students actively participating, advocating, and leading the numerous clubs. I think from Devika's report, I understand there were 90, around 90. So yes, the place was just swarmed with all the different clubs, and I went and I spoke to as many clubs as possible. The students were actually very excited and to explain about their club. They were polite, and they even asked, would you like to join the club? That was really kind of them. What I also observed was there were numerous academic clubs. There were numerous volunteer clubs, but also there were a number of kindness clubs. And that made me feel really happy, because I understand that we are, as Mountain House High School, we are growing really well with our academics, and we are shining. Our results are showing that. But just see that the kids are encouraging kindness clubs and requesting people to join and giving volunteer hours for even writing kindness cards was really, really, it warmed my heart. So I feel kindness is a very important trait for every human being, and I felt that our kids are on the right track. So that was, I was so happy that day, and right after that, I went to our Bethany Elementary School. I attended the ASB election speeches. 21 kids were running for 5 positions, and wow, what great speeches did they deliver. As young as 5th graders all the way through 8th graders, and no matter who won the election, I can tell you that they're all leaders. And congratulations to all of them. I'm so proud. Thank you to Vice Principal Ms. Nicole Young and the front office staff for making me feel very welcome. I took a picture of their new front office. It looked really great, and they're very happy there. Then I'm looking forward to the 10th birthday of our high school. That's upcoming on Friday, so I'll be there. I actually did not write this item, but I want to talk about it with the fact that Devika also shared about this. She did share about the safety features, the extra safety features that's been applied at the high school. So my kids who are MHHS alumni, they had been home for summer from college, and they wanted to meet their teacher, so they happened to schedule a visit, and they went to meet their teacher, and they came back saying, "Mommy, we waited for such a long time. We were not allowed to go inside. We had to, wait and clear all the security before going in." I was so happy. They were a little frustrated, but I told them, okay, so I'm really happy that, the safety feature is being applied, and, you are being held back and you're not just asked to walk inside. So I really appreciate my kids for sharing their frustration, but that made me feel great. Lastly, I just want to, this is more of a question to our superintendent, which came across in the community, and I think it's just a clarifying point. So the Great Schools website showed a drop from 9 points to 6 points. And I did reach out to Dr. Nicholas about that, and he explained about the issue, but I would like Dr. Nicholas to share it in this meeting, in the open meeting, so the community can also have some knowledge about why the change occurred. And there ends my report.
Thank you.
Would you like me to give that explanation now?
Certainly.
Okay, so there are numerous websites that rank schools, and all of them uses specific methodology and data collection in which to create their rankings, and all of them are very different. The ones I'm more familiar with are schooldigger.com and Niche, and I hadn't heard of Great Schools until last week. One of the things that these type of websites do is they provide a service through providing data, like a rating, but they're also in the business and they sell ads. And in the case of Niche and Great Schools, they're an association with the real estate industry, and people who are searching for homes often look to these websites as part of their search. I want to stress that in relation to that, we need to be careful about how much value we put on the ranking. Everybody loves it when we're a 9 and we all get excited, and I've bragged about Niche scores and such. But a shift in the numbers also have to be taken with a grain of salt. Each of these, as I said earlier, have different methodologies, but let me give you an example. So if you take schooldigger.com and Niche, the ones I'm more familiar with, there are 4 ratings of Mountain House High School that has Mountain House High School in the top 10%, the top 15%, and in one measure, the top 20%. And that's best college prep, best STEM, best high school in California, and the School Digger is also best high school in California. But in each of those measures, the ranking that we have is measured against a different, bigger number. So the total number of districts, high schools, change. So in one of the measures, we're ranked out of 1,124, another one 1,403, another one 1,904, and another one 2,123. So how they come about with the rankings really needs to be understood within the context of the websites. So it's great for me to be able to say on the two measures I'm most familiar with, our high school is ranking very high in very important community-based interests. With the great schools specifically, it's interesting. I found an article. It was written by the Mother Jones Daily newsletter, which is a new online paper, in which it talked about the relationship between great schools and the real estate industry in Boston, and how they saw that in some instances, the data that was being put out was kind of skewing the real estate market. So it has an impact for people's purchasing power in the capitalist side, part of society. So the rankings, again, play a role in the greater scheme of things. But in terms of our drop, the great schools drop, we dropped from 9 to 6. And so I looked into the data. And there are some flaws in the data that I think are important. I think the board and the community would find of interest. First of all, it is 2023, and our high school population is 2,267 students. But in the measurement and the analysis that they did, they said Mountain House High School had 1,348 students, about 900 less students. The last time we had 900 less students at the 1,350 mark was 2018-19. And in 2018-19, all of our programs hadn't been built out because we opened this high school in 2014-15 to just freshmen and sophomores and grew from there. And one of the key growth targets that they have in all of these websites are the AP programs. So in 2018-19, our AP program wasn't fully grown out because we didn't have enough students to want the programs to hire the teachers. So that took time. And so that might have, it's interesting, we'd be a 9 at one time and a 6 in the other. So then I looked further into it, and I saw two specific indicators that I think are of note. They have something called the Academic Progress Indicator on their website. It takes 4 clicks into the links tied to that to get an understanding of what that measure was. In that measure, our high school was seeing it with a low number, and I was perplexed. So I looked at it and I realized, oh, well, this is a number that is driven by COVID results. And the fact that in 2019, there wasn't, we didn't give and administer the science test. So what they really did was they took 2019 and 2022, and they used that as their base data, their core starting point. And they looked at the CASP results and the state science test. Well, we didn't give a state science test in 2019, so there was no base number. So then when you have the impacts of COVID, they had to change their methodology to address the fact that they didn't have the number they need to do their base data. And at that point, it became convoluted. And I thought, well, maybe we just need to be a little patient as the COVID numbers flush out of the website to really understand the academic progress indicator. The second one of note, and it's important because it's been a bragging right for our district, is the low-income students at the high school. So our low-income students in our district and at the high school outperform by far the state and the county average. That means every student in the county, every student in the state, our low-income students outperform them by a land shot. But in this particular metric, it's the trajectory that counts. So if you start at a high number and you have a good trajectory, if you have a number that drops, then you're seen in what I would call a skewed lens that you're somehow letting down your low-income students. So if your low-income score is 60 and 1 year it's a 59, you're seen as failing, even though 60 and 59 far outperform other districts. And so we call this the No Child Left Behind effect. That was the old national state measure or national measurement where they set such a trajectory, but that within 15 years of its creation, everybody had to be proficient in advance, and essentially the entire education system in the entire country was going to be deemed a failure. So you have to watch that trajectory measure. So just a couple of, or 3 data points, I think that we just need to be a little patient. It seems like they have to flesh out some things there. The last point I'll make is we have the raw data on this year's CASP results, the spring testing. Yet the state, and I'm sure there's some wisdom behind this, but we are still waiting to hear that wisdom, is that they haven't released the formal scores. So I can't speak to the formal scores, but what I can speak to is the scores at Mountain House High School in English Language Arts, Math, and Science, and they only test the juniors, are all up. And in science, which is one of the key measures on great schools, it's up the highest. But what I can't tell you is what the formal score is because they haven't released it. And so I'm stuck with giving you an informal statement. So lastly, I think sometimes all of the data available to us can be confusing. I know I like to watch movies, and then I go and I research where they filmed it and this backstory behind it and the history and all that. And I think that's this kind of information that's powerful for people. But I think sometimes one data point can create a confusion. So what I would suggest is as we gather information and people rate our schools, the eye test also works. And the eye test is, go look at the school. It's one of the most beautiful schools ever built. Go look at the graduation rate. It's 99-point-something%. Go look at the college acceptance rate. Our kids who do the work, who want to go to a great college, get into great colleges. And our kids that want to go into the trades have a great background academically and socially in order to do so. So we're not perfect. We love the challenge of becoming more perfect, like a more perfect union. We want a more perfect Mountain House High School. So I think these websites, especially the ones that are associated with the business industry, serve a purpose in the community and help people make decisions. But I would suggest that also when you're concerned about a data point such as this, that the eye test also works. And that's my response.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nicholas, and thank you for doing the research and explaining it in detail. I understand that the members of the community may be looking at different resources just to understand how we are progressing. But thank you for also your suggestion, and definitely I agree with the eye test. And the part that surprised me was I am aware that we are highly performing school district, and to see the drop was what kind of made me ask you for the explanation. But thank you so much.
I would also like to chime in with the fact that I believe that these websites use kind of a one-size-fits-all shotgun approach to rating the schools, and so they don't take into account a lot of things that they should because they're spread out across the whole state and trying to give a snapshot of all these schools and school districts, and in some cases they just fail. Any further comments by the board? Trustee Boulay.
Thank you. Last week, I attended a high school girls tennis preseason match. I also had a wonderful site visit at Wickland with Mrs. Perez. I really appreciate the time that she took to take me around, to introduce me to some of the teachers that are new to Lammersville, and also to meet one of our teachers who is a Mountain House High School alumni. That always warms my heart, seeing that our education system has come back around. He's a science teacher for our middle school, and I'm really excited to see how the kids are going to do and how he relates to them. Mrs. Perez has some new programs that she's working on, and when I was walking around with her, she had a smile on her face from ear to ear the entire time. I think she loves what she's doing, and I think it was a great fit. So good decision for appointing her as the principal of Wickland. Yesterday afternoon and evening, I enjoyed some high school sports. I watched the home season opener for the girls' tennis team. They won very nicely. And I also watched the JV and varsity girls volleyball matches, and both of those teams won as well. And while I was sitting in the gymnasium, I knew that we had redone the floor, but I looked around the whole place and realized that it's been 10 years, but it still looks brand new. So I think our custodian, our high school staff are doing an amazing job keeping that place looking good. They're taking very well care of it, including the students and the parents are doing a good job taking care of that. And I think we invested into some good seating and everything else. We have scoreboards, everything. They're holding up well. They look really good. So, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Clements.
Thank you, sir. I had the honor of touring the high school with Principal Auerbach. We saw a few classrooms as well as a couple of the career technical education areas. I got to see the new kilns that we authorized for the high school. They've been installed. They haven't been seasoned. I think that's the term for it. But I really wanted to thank Ms. Close to show me how they work and all that kind of stuff. I confess that my availability to visit a school is usually fairly short notice, so I wanted to thank Principal Auerbach and the entire staff for accommodating me on fairly short notice. In closing, I wanted to note that a conversation that I had with Ms. Close, she mentioned an art exhibition and the fact that having more kilns is, because we can't visit everywhere. So I visited the culinary and they were not cooking, unfortunately. I was hoping for some free food. And we visited the ceramics and she mentioned an art exhibition, which reminded me that since the day that I moved to Mountain House and my kids came to Lammersville, I've really wanted our district to do an art auction. And we just didn't have the economies of scale. We had, at that time, 2 K-8s, right? And I've been waiting for the district to get to the size that it made sense, and I remember going to Dublin School District's art auction, and man, some of it was so fantastic and just incredible, and it was a great event. And the culinary did the food for the event, and I would love to see us showcase. I mean, the posters can be done by graphic artists and the food can be done by culinary, and the art, is there. And of course, if I know how I was, if I was a parent and one of my kids had an art piece on auction, there is no amount of money that could take it. Whatever it took, I would buy my child's artwork. So I think that we could showcase so many of our kids' incredible talents. And we could also raise money that can go directly back into those very same programs. And so I just wanted to thank the team for, letting me wax eloquent and see the great stuff that they're doing. And that's the end of my report, sir.
Sounds like a good idea you've got there, Trustee Clemens, and thank you. Trustee Olson.
Thank you, Trustee Pombo. Last Thursday, August 31st, I attended the JV Boys Water Polo game. It was great to see the teams out there. And I've heard that a lot of schools are losing numbers in their water polo programs. And so I appreciate that the Mountain House High School coaches fielded both JV and varsity teams for both the boys and girls teams. Because I think that with our growing high school, having more opportunities for all students to engage in these activities is important. So I appreciate the efforts of all the coaches, and I just wanted to highlight that it was really nice to read about the inaugural season for the girls flag football team. As one who's been in part of the rec flag football division in Mountain House since its inception, it's just really nice to see that sport come available for high school girls. And I appreciate our district leadership and the athletic directors who made sure that they could field a team in the inaugural season, because I know not all schools put that effort in to get a team going. And I enjoyed reading about them in the Tracy Press and look forward to seeing them on the home field. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. On August 23rd, I attended the Area Delegate Assembly for CSBA, and the main topic of discussion was state funding and how it affects all of our local school districts. I shared with those present the fact that LUSD is often shortchanged when it comes to state funding in a variety of ways. I went into some examples of how we are funded at a less than appropriate level many times, and I think some of the other board members there and some of the CSBA representatives kind of got a feel for what we deal with here in Lammersville. And by the way, I am enjoying my position as a CSBA delegate. It gives access to myself and LUSD on a statewide level, and hopefully it will pay some dividends eventually for our district. On August 25th, I attended the Mountain House High School Patterson football game in Patterson, and although our JV and varsity teams were both unsuccessful, they were both competitive games, and I enjoyed very much watching our students on the Patterson field, and I'm looking forward to attending the game against Tracy this weekend, and I'm hoping that Mountain House High School runs over my alma mater, Tracy High.
That hurt to say, Mr. President.
Well, I have been a Bulldog as well as a Mustang for many years, and I always root for Tracy High Bulldogs unless they're playing Mountain House, so there's that. Moving on to item 7, receiving of public comments. The entire board appreciates hearing from members of the community and public at large. The board shall give members of the public an opportunity to address the board either before or during the board's consideration of each agenda item. At a time so designated on the agenda, members of the public may also bring before the board matters that are not listed on the agenda of a regular meeting. The board may refer such a matter to the superintendent or designee or take it under advisement, but shall not take action at that time. The board may place the matter on the agenda of a subsequent meeting for discussion or action. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. And I have one speaker card here for the Youth Action Committee. Can you please come forward?
So good evening, Superintendent Nicholas and President Pombo and trustees. I'm Tanish, a senior at Mountain House High School and one of the council members for the Youth Action Committee.
Good evening. My name is Sayukta and I'm also a part of the Youth Action Committee's council. And today we're here to talk to you about our returning Yakademics tutoring program, as well as a proposal to create a stronger connection between Yak and all the LUSD schools.
So, however, before we get started, we should first want to thank all of you for your continued support with Yak. Without your assistance, our last year's Yakademics program would not have been as successful as it was, being able to aid hundreds of students who were struggling at school. And once again, thank you for your continued support and collaboration.
So our Yakademics program is a year-long tutoring program that we run alongside LUSD schools in order to provide free assistance on homework and concepts that are taught at school. High school students show up every Tuesday and Thursday from 5 to 6:30 p.m. to assist 2nd to 8th graders who are struggling with school.
However, in previous years, we've seen issues in that once students run out of their school homework, they do not often have extra resources that we can utilize to help them study. Since we don't want to teach or assist in any concepts that are not already in LUSD curriculum, it's left us slightly unable to provide extra assistance in the past. So the solution, that's something which we were hoping to get your guys' input on in a future meeting. And we came up with some potential ideas. We brainstormed Fixes such as receiving a copy of the LUSD's curriculum for all subjects that 2nd to 8th graders are taught, so that we can ensure that all our tutors remain on track and are teaching LUSD curriculum. Additionally, we also considered having teachers who we can contact from the LUSD schools to receive insight on the curriculum, worksheets, as well as videos that they would recommend. However, we want you guys' opinion on this topic and what assistance you can provide.
So, secondly, recently we found it a little challenging to keep track of flyers and overall advertising that's been approved by LUSD. So this makes the process very simple on our end, to just send it out. But we were hoping we would be able to gain more control on how LUSD approved advertising is distributed among the schools. To help with this, we're requesting to have a liaison within each elementary and middle school, as well as Mountain House High School. And ideally, we would be able to contact the liaison about details of distributing the advertisement within the school. This would either be an administrative worker at the school or the school's ASB teacher to ensure that flyers and other advertising are accurate and all up to date. So, thank you for listening, and thank you once again so much for your continued support of the Youth Action Committee. Please get back to us with your feedback and suggestions.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for coming this evening, and I think your group performs a wonderful service to our students, and I really enjoy seeing our youth giving back to the community and to their fellow students. If I could request that the superintendent and have staff reach out and
Yes, sir.
thank you.
I'll go. I thank you so much. I've been a big fan of YAC. I love the term Yakademics. That's awesome. Ever since day one, I think that was the brainchild of Bernice Tingle King, right? That was your brainchild, right, way back in the day? Yeah, it's been around a long time, and it's, I've always been impressed, but, having you guys give back to the community and help help students at in the lower grades would be fantastic, and I'm sure district staff can figure out a way to deploy it, to support and direct, so that you're getting the value and the leverage off your effort that you're looking for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8, consent items for consideration. Actions proposed for consent are consistent with the approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. Trustees receive board agenda background information in advance of scheduled meetings and are prepared to vote with the knowledge on consistent items. And the consent items for consideration are governing board meeting minutes, contracts under $50,000, ratification of certificated and classified personnel actions, updated 2023-2024 fundraisers, the acceptance of a $700 donation by Abdul Rauf to purchase T-shirts for the Mountain House High School Muslim Students Association members. If any board member would like to pull an item for discussion or consideration on its own, please speak up now.
Move to approve consent items for consideration.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Clements and seconded by Trustee Olson, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent items are approved. Trustee Olson.
So if you'll notice this month, there were a lot of hires, and we are grateful to the Human Resources Department for getting all the ELOP people hired. So Noel created a wonderful slide. All these wonderful people have joined the Lammersville family. I just wanted to point out the full-time teachers that we hired. I'd like to read their names. Madeline Boas, self-contained classroom teacher. Teja Dada Manpanini, noon duty supervisor. Kristen Quinto, self-contained classroom teacher. Victoria Holtz, self-contained classroom teacher. Karina Joregui, self-contained classroom teacher. James Muat IV, K through 8 physical education teacher. Juliana Munguia, self-contained classroom teacher. Victoria Precolo, self-contained classroom teacher. Allison Turner, self-contained classroom teacher, and Robin Watson-Bird, school psychologist. And we are just equally as grateful for all of the ELOP people that stepped up to provide that service to our community. Welcome to the family.
I read the agenda and I was like, I can't wait for her to read all those names.
I read the agenda and had pity on our on our clerk, and so we brainstormed a little bit to come up with a solution. Thank you. Item 9, district administrative reports, superintendent's report.
Yes, last spring I gave a report to the board regarding the end of the year purchases and the system in which board agendas work and how the board makes decisions. That is the culminating event and also the inspiration for the following year. The board adopts a set of goals, and staff, starting with me, execute a series of initiatives in which to meet those goals. So in the spring I gave, here's the system for how we choose to buy the things we buy and the mechanism in which that's done. This is the follow-up presentation, and so my report is going to be delivered by Mr. Thorsten Harrison and Ms. Heather Sharp, and this is the goals, the things we bought, and the way they're interwoven together to get to where we want to go.
She was ducking out on me.
I thought she was making a beeline for the door.
Good evening, Board President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to present to you tonight. So, as Dr. Nicholas introduced to the board and the public, the goals for the 2023-2024 school year are following in this presentation. But before I start, I want to make sure that everybody understands some of the things you're going to hear have been in presentations in the spring. Things like Elevate, Master Connect, things like impact teams, things like FMI, things like other curriculum and content that we use to either deliver instruction, track instruction, or improve instruction. And that's what you're going to see in our goals. So our 3 goals are good first-time instruction through walking and talking, professional learning communities or impact teams, and goal 3 is address the needs of the 20%, students who are not meeting standard. So that lowest 20% of students that are not meeting standard, either in the classroom or social-emotionally, or not getting to school, or things of that nature, things that affect their ability to be successful in school. So goal 1, good first-time instruction through walking and talking. What does that look like in a narrative format? So good first-time instruction led by teachers who use the district-provided content and tools, instructional practice that is well-planned in scope and effect that reaches all students and all ability levels. So walking and talking instruction 3.0. What's the purpose? The purpose of walking and talking is short visits to the classroom to experience effective instructional practices. Reflection on instructional practices and the impact on student learning. Walking and talking promotes collegial professional growth. So as I've said in the past, and I continue to say, and I'll say next week when we have our first walking and talking on Wednesday, the most important part of walking and talking is a conversation that colleagues have with each other about the instruction that they see in the classroom. So it promotes collegial professional growth. Collaboration through structured professional discourse. We use a rubric to look at instruction, which I'll show you in a minute. And then this process that is led by the district, there's going to be 4 sessions this school year, is a springboard to site walking and talking practice that helps breed collective teacher efficacy, or in other words, gets us all on the same page when it comes to talking about instruction and what it looks like. So you've seen this before. This is the walking and talking rubric. I've brought this to the board in the spring. We talked about it a little bit. That was the walking and talking 2.0. And as you can see on this rubric, we talk about the vibe, which is in the yellow section there. We talk about SMO, which is a measurable learning objective, student engagement. And then you can see that it's a worksheet, right? So on the right side, you can write down the evidence that you see for each section. And then the rubric is bridging, expanding, and emerging. And you can see the explanation of what does emerging look like? What does it look like when a teacher is still learning how to have a good vibe in the classroom? What does expanding look like when a teacher has reached the point where they're getting very good at vibe in the classroom? Or what does bridging look like? A teacher that has vibe that is meets and exceeds standards, and we want to bring other teachers into that classroom to see it happen, right? So one of the other things you'll notice up there is there's a highlighted section that says success criteria. So we've added some language that aligns with the impact teams training that we're doing in the PLCs this school year. So we've adjusted some of the language to align with what we're doing in other parts of our professional development and other parts of our 3 goals. This is the rest of the rubric. You can see CFU, which means checking for understanding, student discourse, intentional planning. We added success criteria to all of those explanations and rubrics. And then on the right, you can see where we can write in evidence as we do the walking and talking. So this is the rubric that we use during the walking and talking process. So what does that walking and talking process look like? So on September 13th, next Wednesday, a week from today, we're going to have our first walking and talking, and that'll be Team 1, which is Cordis, Bethany, Hanson, Lammersville, and Mountain House High School. They will be going to Cuesta School and Wickland School. So the way it works, everyone's going to show up to the Professional Development Center, or the PDC. We're going to feed everyone breakfast. Then we're going to have a norming session for everybody in the room. And that norming session will get the teachers ready to do the walking at the school sites at Cuesta and Wickland. Then we all go to Cuesta and Wickland. Set teams will arrive, and each team is led by an administrator. And the administrator keeps the master document for the walking and talking, the rubric. And the teachers and the administrators walk through classrooms and look at great instruction, and they talk about it outside the classroom. And that is the true benefit of walking and talking, that conversation. When they're finished, they come back to the PDC. We feed them again, we feed them lunch. And after lunch, we have a breakdown of what we saw. And everybody participates in the conversation. And I make sure everybody participates in the conversation. It's a facilitated conversation, and we talk about what we saw in the classroom. We don't talk about teacher names, none of that. We don't tell grade levels. We don't talk about subject areas. We don't want to identify anybody, but we do want to talk about what we saw. We talk about what the great things we saw. We talk about the things that we saw that could be better. And we talk about things that we weren't sure about, but how we could make those things better. Because every moment of every classroom, the teacher isn't a 10 because you have transition. You have other things that happen in class. You address the discipline of a student, right? And so we make sure that it's a net positive experience for everybody in the room when we talk about instruction. So moving on, Team 2 will be having their walking and talking on September 28th. And the host schools will be Cordis and Bethany. Then the second phase of walking and talking, Team 1 will be January 24th, Team 2 on February 1st. And right now, for Team 2, we're talking about all of Team 2 visiting the high school, because we haven't done a walking and talking at the high school for quite a while, and it's a big school now, so there's plenty of classrooms to visit, so we could have everybody doing it together, which would be quite, it'll be fun. So that leads me to professional learning communities, or impact teams. Historically in this district, we've had professional learning communities, and we've had a group come in and work with our teachers on professional learning communities. This last year and this year, we brought in impact teams, which is a little more contemporary look at professional learning communities that we're using currently in our district. So what does that look like? Teams of educators working together collaboratively, to provide exceptional instruction, co-created formative and summative student assessment designed to guide short and long-term effective instructional practice. So PLCs, impact teams. So here's our history. So historically, we've worked on PLCs as a district. We've established teams, we've established collegial relations, we've worked on professional growth both at the school site and at the district level. We set norms and norms of behavior both for PLC teams and as a school site and as a district. We've created collaborative cultures at our individual school sites where teams are comfortable talking about instruction, talking about data. We've worked on mutual support and mutual obligation, which I think Walking and Talking is a great example of that because it's myself, the superintendent, teachers, district staff, site staff, everybody that's involved in teaching our students in the classroom is at that event. We establish what's loose and what's tight, meaning these are the things we'd like you to do, and these are the things that we're going to do, because it's a part of a culture of our school. We work on shared beliefs, reflective practice in that here's what I did to teach this lesson, here's what my partner did. We talked about data, and my partner's data was a little better. Let's have a conversation and see what you did differently, so maybe I can change my practice. So that's why PLCs are so important and how they tie into the Walking and Talking. And then ongoing technical inquiry regarding effective practices. And basically what we're saying is teaching is a practice. You can always get better at teaching. And you can always work on your pedagogy and the strategies that you use in the classroom. And teachers are some of the best thieves there are. They go into a classroom, see a technique, they'll go, ooh, I can do that, and I'll do it this way. And they take it and use it in their classroom. So there's 4 posits that in professional learning communities we want to address. And with impact teams, the 4 posits shifted from a teacher-educator aspect to the student aspect. So the student aspect is, what do I expect to learn? Historically with PLCs, it was, what do we want our students to learn? But we're changing the aspect to include the student more in our actions when it comes to instructing kids. Number 2 is, how will I know I am learning? Historically, it was, how do we know they're learning it, right? 3 is, how will I adjust my learning? Historically, it was, what will we do if they don't learn it? And then 4 for us was, what will we do when they learn it? But as a student, what will I do if I already know it? So we're just shifting kind of the way we look at learning and include the learner more in the process. So why? PLCs, we want a common goal. We all can agree that students can learn at high levels. We need a common vocabulary so that when we talk about student achievement or classroom instruction, we have a common vocabulary. Also, a common understanding of what mastery looks like in both student realm, achievement, and in instruction. And then there needs to be a moral imperative. Do we all believe that all students can learn? If we all believe that all students can learn, then it's incumbent upon us as educators to improve our practice, to improve pedagogy, and to improve our data analysis. And Heather's going to talk about some of our data analysis tools here in a minute. That's a key part of the PLCs and learning what our student outcomes are so that we can change practice. One of the other things we need to do is eliminate barriers to success and eliminate barriers to implementation of some of these instructional practices. And then again, I say it all the time, collective commitment. We all agree that we're going to commit to this. And this is the culture of our school district. This is the culture of our instruction. So impact teams, why? Like I said, it's a slight change to the PLC process. It's a more contemporary look at how we utilize the PLC process. Responsive instruction is a key portion. Student-teacher relationship, student-teacher communication as well, and how they interact in the instructional process. A student as an active part of their learning. learning intentions and success criteria, clarity and intent, and instruction tied to data analysis. So the ability of groups of teachers to look at student data and influence the instruction moving forward based on that data. So in the spring, staff brought forward a number of data tools to use because we were changing some data tools that were a little aged out and some things that were a little more contemporary. We brought many of those things to the board that Dr. Nicholas reported on, some of the tools that we needed to move forward. And you'll see some of those tools identified in Ms. Sherburne, Ms. Scholl, sorry. Whoops, sorry. Ms. Sharp's part of the presentation. Sorry about that. In that portion, you're going to see some of the tools that you approved to purchase for staff to use to be able to do our job better.
Somehow I kind of enjoyed that.
Darn it, I almost made it too. This is my last slide. So goal 3 addresses the needs of the 20%. Students who are not meeting standard. And remember, that's not only not meeting standard perhaps educationally, but social emotionally, in attending school, being to school on time, etc. So intentional planning, data analysis, and remediation designed to identify and support students who have not met LUSD standard due to challenges related to attendance, social emotional needs, and or academics, and assist said students in meeting standard.
Good evening, President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. I am Heather Sharp. And as Thor mentioned, I'm going to talk about the 20%. It is our third goal. Each of the goals do tie together when we're talking about good first instruction, impact teams, and the 20%. This year, our focus on the 20% is really taking our district-wide system and process and how we support those students and ensuring that it is consistent across the district. We started this by, as you approved, implementing Lexia for our K-2 students. So first trimester is focused on teachers and students really getting into using that software, as well as the teachers using the lessons and the data within Lexia to support students with their specific phonics and foundational reading skill needs. Trimester 2, we'll be looking at teachers really strengthening small group routines and procedures while continuing with Lexia and Lexia strategic support, with third trimester going into small groups with teacher and leveled readers. Now, understanding along the way, some teachers already have all of these procedures set because they've been teaching for a while. We also have a new teaching staff who is learning how to do these pieces. So we are identifying the specific areas that we want teachers to focus on first. That also allows the curriculum department to come in and administration to come in to help those teachers be successful. For 3rd through 6th grade ELA strategic support, same thing. We've mapped this out across the school year. Steps to Advance is what we provided to students in 3rd through 6th for several years now. So that's in place. That's systematic. We're bringing in Lexia now to also to offer to our 20% in 3rd through 6th. K2, every student gets it. 3rd through 6th, this is specific to those students who need the foundational skills support. That's our focus for trimester 1. Trimester 2 is using the Lexia data review process and pulling back students for specific needs with foundational reading support. And trimester 3, looking at small groups with their teacher based on weekly assessments. Again, and as a reminder, some teachers will have this in place first trimester. We're identifying specific things for new teachers so that we can support them and they know where to focus their time. Okay, so I put this here as a slide because the next slide is going to seem like a lot. So I'm front-loading you that slide with this one. So when we're talking about great first-time instruction, impact teams, 20%, all of that ties together in the teaching and learning cycle. When we talk about planning from standards and teaching, that's great first-time instruction. Assessing and analyzing data and student work, that can be done grade level, site-based, so that's the impact teams and how we're talking about student learning. And then adapting, teaching, and reassessing, that piece along with analyzing data, that's where we're hitting those 20% and we're coming back around to see what we can do to support all students. So just keeping that in mind as you're thinking about 20%, impact teams, and good first-time instruction, how all three of those are critical to the teaching and learning cycle. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot on this slide. I know, I admit it. So the teaching and learning cycle over to the left is just a reference. What I want to talk to you about now is how we are taking each of the tools and each of the curriculum materials that we've purchased, and we're using them to address each of the specific areas of the teaching and learning cycle. So when we start with good first-time instruction, that's where we're utilizing our reading curriculum. We have our journeys, benchmark, collections. We're bringing in Lexia for our students. We have small groups and ELA adoptions. For math, we have Eureka Math, Guru, and ST Math. As a part of that good first instruction, we need to assess to see students' progress and knowledge. So we're looking at curricular assessments within our curriculum that I discussed above, as well as our new tools we purchased, Mastery Connect and Elevate. And as a reminder, Mastery Connect is the assessment system, and Elevate is the analytic system that ties multiple assessments together so we can see a whole picture for students. Based on those assessment results, we look at our strategic support, and that's where we purchase Steps to Advance, Lexia, we have leveled readers, and then in math, we have purchased focused math intervention. As a result of strategic support, again, we come back to assessment because we need to determine, was our strategic support successful? It's not just, I'm going to do this because I'm checking a box. So again, we look at our strategic support assessments. We go back to curricular assessments to see, is it closing the gap? Is it working? And then all of this ties back into Mastery Connect and Elevate also. So we're able to see those, while it is a small assessment or a small piece, it's part of a bigger picture that we're able to see in Elevate. Any questions? No? Any questions of Mr. Harrison?
Yeah, I do have a question for Mr. Harrison. So you spoke about the walking and talking. How many classrooms do they usually cover on one particular day?
So this next visit, we will cover up to 30 classrooms, almost the whole school site.
Almost.
So when we go to Cuesta, there's about 36 classrooms there, 30, right, 36? We'll visit every single one. Okay. And then when we go to Wickland, it's about 38 classrooms, 38 at Wickland. We'll probably cover almost every single one because we have 8 teams of 4 visiting classrooms, and we try not to double visit classrooms because teachers get enough, as it is. But the visits are only 10 minutes. So.
Thank you. And the impact teams, I'm trying to understand the impact teams. How does the impact team work? Is it like you're partnering with another teacher, or like what is an impact team?
So historically, we've used professional learning communities to be the delivery device for training our teachers and having our teachers work together in teams, right? So yes, impact teams work specifically with groups of teachers. So last year we had the principals identify at the K-8 levels a grade level specific to get training last school year. That's cohort 1. This year, the K-8 schools picked a new grade level. So let's say Wickland picked 2nd grade last year. This year they may have picked 4th grade. So we're talking 3 or 4 teachers in the grade level. Now, additionally to that, we have a team of leadership, a leadership team of teachers that help facilitate the training with the group. So we do like a fishbowl, right? So not only do we have the group that's getting trained, but we have a group of teachers learning how to train as we move forward for this process.
Thank you. I do have a question for Ms. Sharp. Thank you. Thank you. So you mentioned Lexia as a curriculum. I mean, it's more of a clarification.
It's supplemental, so it's supplemental materials. Lexia would not be a curriculum, but it's materials we use in supplement to our curriculum.
And so Lexia doesn't provide a data, right?
It does. Yes, it does. So it provides data within its system. So students take a diagnostic and then they're on a learning path that's specific to each student. So as I'm going along, let's say I'm a second grade student and I'm at a first grade reading level. I'm not going to be given second grade phonics. It's going to take me back to where I need to be to fill in my holes. And along the way, if I get stuck, the system, as I talked about data review and strategic support, the system data will show a teacher, it will flag saying, Heather needs help on this lesson from a teacher, she can't do it by herself. And so then the teacher is checking that every week, and the teacher's pulling back small groups to specifically help me on my lesson that may not even be a grade level lesson.
Got it. So basically, it does provide data to the teacher.
Yes.
And then when the next step of the Mastery Connect and Elevate happen, then the testing basically is based off on the data that is provided to the teacher.
So there'll be multiple data points that the teacher can get information from and multiple assessments. Some of those assessments will be in Mastery. Some of them are pulled from other sources. And what we can pull into Elevate is pulled into Elevate, and we use that information as a bigger picture.
And then moves on to strategic support.
Some of those strategies will happen within each type of, so Lexia we wouldn't wait to see that in Elevate. Lexia would be immediate on its own, but what it would do is it'd paint a whole picture for me as a learner. So how am I doing in Lexia? My year below in Lexia, and now when I'm doing small readers with my teacher, am I still showing I'm a year below there? Is there some point where we can then begin to fine tune our strategic support for the individual student and looking at the whole picture instead of just a couple of different data points? That Elevate also brings in attendance, behavior, multiple things. So it looks at me as a whole learner, not just academics.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, the teachers definitely need to be trained on all these data points, right? So, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions or comments by the board?
I just had one quick question for Mr. Harrison. The rubric that you use, how does it compare to the California teaching performance expectations?
It lines right with it.
Lines like with
the
it.
6 CSTPs, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it lines right with it. Like you can take different CSTPs and kind of just align, and you go, oh yeah, that's there. This is here.
Okay.
And just one last point on the new tools. Every teacher's going through a planned and scheduled training and introduction. So Lexia is already finished, and by September 18th. Everyone should be through that and ready to go. So then they have to get their reps, and then the coordinators will be available to come in and help people struggling in their reps. So we've already got the backfill for that. So then you have to give it time, and then there'll be additional trainings with the strategic support and the small group instruction, and then if time permits, the leveled readers. If it works within the year, you don't want to dump too much new, so you have to feather it out really nicely.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item C, District Maintenance and Operations Report. Mr. Legrand, I presume.
Unfortunately, right? Good evening. Thanks for having me. We had our Williams Facilities walks at the end of July at Altamont and Cordis. I got the report a couple weeks ago, reviewed it with Thor. Most of the issues were just housekeeping issues. Reviewed 28 spaces, wall-covered paper. She didn't like the Glade little air freshener plugins in the walls. Another wallpaper. A couple rooms had the Christmas lights up. She didn't like those either. The only real issue was the floor and the kitchen at Altamont. The sheet vinyl, the seams are starting to separate a little bit. We have the same issue on the stage, so we're gonna have to do something with that. We might have to tear the floor up, put some other finish in there. That's the biggest issue from those inspections. Updating our progress, the media room at the high school is complete. It was on the 15th. Looks great. We put the black LBT in, laminate floor. They had a backdrop in there. It was kind of a corner piece with a curved bottom, looked more like a skate ramp really than a backdrop or anything. So the teacher asked us to modify it, which we did. And then we secured it above the ceiling grid. It was make it a little more sturdy. It was kind of wobbly before. So that project's done. I was in there this week. The room looks great. It's all set up. They're doing their thing in there, so it's nice. The portables, we had a few issues with the portables. The company came out and addressed those. Carpet tiles coming up, one of the outlets was bad, little things like that. Thermostat didn't work, little things like that. They did all that kind of stuff. The portals didn't come with any window coverings, so we need to get window coverings for those. There's 8 portables, 2 windows, so 16 coverings for those. We're working on that. The pool, I was asked to put a couple gates at the pool, one on the east side as the walkway up to secure that little back area where the mats or the covers are kept, and then to create a gate over on the northwest corner so they could access the restroom and snack bar building at the football stadium. So I met with Roblin Fencing, which did the project at Lammersville. I met with them last Wednesday. They're giving me a price. Because of the slope coming off the pool slab deck compared to the slab down below where the snack bar is, it's a little steep. So we might have to go put a handrail in to cover us for ADA. They're getting me information and pricing on that. When I get it, I'll review it with Thor and we'll go from there. So Costa, we still have some things to finish at Costa. Tomorrow we're going out to do the kind of help set up the rest of the band room, the risers and the music stands. And then Friday, the remainder of the admin furniture is coming, and that'll be installed starting at 8 a.m. So the principal's desk, vice principal's desk, all that kind of stuff. That's coming on Friday. Next, also on Friday, there are 6 pallets of the library books that are in the multi. I have to take those over and put them in the library because next Tuesday, I believe all the librarians in the district are coming to Costa to help put everything on the shelves. So that's a lot of books we're going to move on Friday. And then I talked to the contractor today, and it looks like we could get the furniture installed in the D building mid to late October. He said 3rd week for sure. He's retiring, so he has he's like, whatever. Anyways, he said 3rd week for sure. He's going to try and get me in there a little bit earlier. They have cleaning coming in 2 weeks, so I think after the cleaning's done, maybe we can schedule a little earlier. But for sure, by mid-October, that building will be assembled, ready to go. The window coverings for Costa or Altamont and Cuesta. So I met with the vendor a couple times. These are the samples, color samples, and now I have to choose from. There's only 5 samples. We're going with the charcoal, which is the bottom here. It's kind of a black color. The curtain at Cuesta is black on stage, and the bleachers at Altamont are black, which are right below the window where this is going to go. So it blends in well. Didn't have a lot to choose from, so that's what we picked. That project's getting done the week of fall break, so in a few weeks. The CalShape work is continuing. They're currently at Hanson and Mountain House are taking air readings now, air sampling readings. So that, hope to have that whole thing wrapped up by the end of September, first part of October, that whole project. Last weekend, we replaced the parking lot lights at Altamont. They were metal halide, and we put in LEDs, 23 lights total, and a couple on the kindergarten side, all got replaced. We turned the lights on Tuesday morning, 3 of them didn't work, so we spent yesterday and today out there troubleshooting, and there was a loose wire in the ground, fixed it today. All 23 lights are working. If you get a chance to go by there at night, you should go by there. I went by there, it's a lot brighter than it was a few days ago. The garden at Lammersville, they're gonna start using the garden again at Lammersville this year. So we had to reconnect the water. There's 8 planter boxes there, we had to reconnect the water there. There's a hose bib by the chicken coop. There's a hose bib by the greenhouse. We had to connect all that. That's pretty much done. I talked to the teacher today to find out if she wanted a manual shut off, an automatic timer, or whatever. I got what she wanted, so I'll finish hooking it up. We have to connect to the water in the back of the warehouse. That's the only place to get water over there. So I'll finish that by tomorrow or Friday at the latest. And they'll be ready to go. They have parents come in to plant. They have things, dirt, sod come in. They're ready to go. They're kind of waiting on me, so I'll get it done by tomorrow or the next day. And that's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments by the board?
I just want to say I got tired just hearing that report. That was a lot. So in that context, I really want to say how grateful we are to all the work you do to keep our facilities so beautiful and safe.
Thank you. It's not just me, it's a whole team of us, but thank you.
Yeah, your whole team, yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, really appreciated.
I actually do have one question because normally we get a status on the custodian staff and how we're doing for vacancies. Since we didn't get a report, can I assume that all of our vacancies are full?
Positions?
Yeah.
No. Sorry. I can include that. I don't want to, some of that falls under Jason's heading now, so I don't want to speak for him, but I could talk to him. I could bring that next meeting.
I was just hopeful, that's all.
No, we still have, I think.
Because I know you've been struggling.
We have
so.
people going through the process. We interviewed a few weeks ago. Jason and I and Aria, we interviewed a few weeks ago, and we're moving people through the process, but we still have 2 or 3 openings. I believe we're hiring a maintenance position that's got approved this week in cabinet, so that'll be posted soon. So we still have a handful of openings, not as bad as we were. We were up around 7 or 8 over the summer. We're half that probably right now.
Thank you.
So we're making progress. We're still not 100%, sorry.
I was actually afraid to ask the question if he didn't, like, oh no.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to item 10, action items. Item A, consider approval of the 2023-2024 inter and intra-district transfer request.
Move to approve the 2023-2024 inter and intra-district transfer requests.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Olson, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, consider approval to modify the 2023-2024 Governing Board Meeting calendar. Staff report?
Yes, it was brought to our attention at the last board meeting that the County School Boards Association annual dinner is in conflict with the board meeting. At that meeting, we discussed a Tuesday and Thursday option, and staff went out and found 2 other options, a Monday and a Wednesday. So we're seeking consensus from the board about which one of those dates we want to move the board meeting to, so that all board members who choose to can go to the County School Boards Association dinner.
I will start the conversation just by saying that I would prefer not to have to move 2 board meetings to accommodate this, but I'm open to whatever the rest of the board comes up with.
That was my thought as well. Because it's not just us that are involved in board meetings, but the district staff, and I don't want to alter everybody's calendar for 2 meetings. So if we can just minimize one change.
Agreed. And I believe that at the last meeting, Dr. Nicholas mentioned that the most, the easiest thing for them would be to do it like the Tuesday or the Monday before. So I would propose that we do it on the 16th or the 17th for that purpose.
I will not be able to do any other weekday other than Wednesday because my work does not permit any other weekday other than Wednesday. Sorry.
I agree with President Pombo that moving one is better. But failing that, I can do any of the options, including D if that's what the board decides.
Are there any other conflicts on Monday the 16th or Tuesday the 17th?
I'm available both days, either day.
I may not be now, but I will be when we decide. If someone wants to pick a day between those 2, we can look for consensus. So we're flipping a coin.
I'll just pick Tuesday because it's closer to Wednesday, the scheduled date.
And yeah, it doesn't conflict with Monday Night Football, so I concur.
Wow. Tuesday's fine with me.
Yeah.
All right, so sounds like we have consensus to move the meeting to October 17th. And I'm sorry that Trustee Daniel will not be able to attend, but sometimes it's difficult to make everything work.
I will watch the recording.
Pardon?
I will watch the recording.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve to modify the 2023-2024 Governing Board Meeting calendar to meet on Tuesday, October 17th at 7 o'clock.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Boulay and seconded by trustee Clements, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, consider approval of the 2023-2024 outdoor education agreements for LUSD K-8 school sites. Staff report?
Yes, so Bethany's school wanted to make an attempt to move from the Sky Mountain option to the Mount Herman option because it offers 5 days of science camp. In doing so, it opened the door for Costa to slide into the Sky Mountain spot. So this isn't a perfect ideal situation, but it met the needs of 2 schools, and we recommend approval.
Move to approve 2023-2024 outdoor education agreements for the LUSD K through 8 school sites.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Olson and seconded by trustee Boulay, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Any questions or comments by the board?
I do have a comment. I know that before the pandemic, all of our K through 8, or all of our 6th graders went to 5 days of science camp. I think that's what the trend was. And then after the pandemic, they started cutting it down to 2 and 3 days. So I'm glad to see that, and hopefully this is the trend, that all of the science camps will return to 5 days soon. So I'm glad that a lot of our students have that opportunity this year.
I'm hoping that there will, at some point, be some sort of a normalization of science camp, because for many years this was the camp, everybody went, and now it's kind of a pick and choose, and it doesn't seem quite fair, quite equitable to all the students. So I'm hoping that some sort of a normalization will come about. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, consider approval to adjourn from regular session to open public hearing on the sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials. Staff report?
Yes, items D, E, and F are part of a annual sufficiency of textbook rites of passage, I guess you'd call it, where we have to approve that we have the materials the kids need, which we do.
Move to adjourn from regular session to open public hearing on the sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Olson, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in public hearing. Would any member of the public like to speak at this time?
Oh, wait.
Would any board member like to comment? Moving on to item E, consider approval to close public hearing and return to regular session.
Move to close the public hearing and return to regular session.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Olson and seconded by trustee Boulay, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now returned to regular session. Item F, consider approval of Governing Board Resolution 232403 regarding the sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials. Staff report?
We recommend approval.
Move to approve Governing Board Resolution 232403 regarding the sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials.
Second.
On a motion by trustee Daniel and seconded by trustee Clements, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Colin Clements.
Aye.
Stephanie Olson.
Aye.
Lisa Boulay.
Aye.
Benita Daniel.
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye. Moving on to item G, consider approval of Governing Board Resolution 232404 regarding annual certification of independent study for the 2023-2024 school year. Staff report?
Yes, this is another rite of passage we do annually, which just says that we have the correct independent study procedures in place.
Move to approve Governing Board Resolution 232404 regarding annual certification of independent study for the 2023-2024 school year.
Second.
A motion by trustee Clements and seconded by trustee Olson. Student preferential vote.
Aye.
Is there any questions or comments by the board? Roll call, please.
Colin Clements.
Aye.
Stephanie Olson.
Aye.
Lisa Boulay.
Aye.
Benita Daniel.
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye. And item H has been removed from the agenda, so we will move on to item 11, information and discussion items. Item A, board handbook workshop. Staff report.
Yes, the board had a discussion about the potential to have a workshop. I was asked to find some dates, so we're recommending 3 dates, 2 on a Wednesday evening and 1 on a Saturday. We're seeking consensus from the board.
I'll start the conversation by saying that I can make any of those dates work.
Ditto, Mr. President.
I as well. I can make anything work.
I can make the 8th and the 11th, but I cannot make the 15th.
I will recommend that we schedule it for the 8th. If someone would like to make a motion.
I will so move.
I'll second.
It's not an action item. I think we just need a consensus, but.
Oh, all right then.
But it sounds like we have a consensus.
You are correct, trustee Clements.
So we decided on November 8th?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Smart mouth.
I'll get back at you.
I know.
Item B, board committee facilities, staff report.
Yes, the subcommittee on facilities was long ago created to replace a system that didn't work. The board at that time created a manual and created a structure for who sits at the dais and represents the subcommittee. 2 board members, staff, and 2 community members were ultimately what came out of that. A process was put together that determined the community members who served 2-year terms. The process looks similar to this in terms of interested parties. So what would happen is we'd post who's interested, we'd collect the information. People who didn't have a conflict of interest, meaning I represent this program and I want to be on this board so I can give advantages to this program, were vetted out. Then the principals would be involved and engaged in feedback about the individuals interested. It's always been the district's intent to bring people who were community service oriented, who were committed to school sites, who had a reputation for being involved, whether it's school site council, PTA, foundations, et cetera. And then that gets whittled down to a group of finalists, 3 to 5. And then that was given to the board president, who made a determination. It was recommended that we might want to consider a more formal process than that final step. And so this has been brought forward for the board to discuss as possibly adding to the existing choosing process of the community members who sit on the board, subcommittee.
So President, I requested for this discussion so I can start talking about this. Thank you for explaining the process, Dr. Nicholas. So at this point, I think we're on the lookout for 1 community member to join the facilities committee. And as of now, we have received 39 applications, which is great because a lot of our community members do want to get involved and be a part of the process. So my suggestion to my peers, who I want you to think about, is that with just 1 board member, who's the board president, and district staff, I'm not sure how many district staff will be on the committee to recommend or select the individual. I wanted to suggest that to have a more transparent approach to the community and the people who are interested, I wanted to suggest that we have 2 board members instead of just the board president, so that 2 of them can discuss amongst each other, and at the end it may not be a biased decision. Not that I'm saying it's going to be biased, but a discussion back and forth will always be good. So that was my first suggestion. The second suggestion would be from 39, we are going to shortlist or bring it down to 3 to 5. And when so many community members are interested and they want to, give their time, I just feel that it would be fair when we shortlist the 5 people, if we could have an interview process instead of just looking at their resume or what they've done and just going by, that without understanding their true intent. So that's my second request, if we could have an interview. So those are the 2 suggestions that I wanted to discuss, which if we could update on this particular process.
The superintendent reached out to me about this, and my thought was that we already have a committee in place, which is the Facilities Committee. To me, that seems like the perfect body to interview the applicants. We can do it at our next Facilities Committee meeting and seat the choice at that meeting, and they can start right then. As far as having an interview of 39 people, that seems extremely cumbersome and time consuming. I'm already thinking that interviewing the 5 is going to take some time, and I feel like staff has narrowed it down to, I believe it's 5, is that correct? And we should be able to find someone who is qualified and will represent the community from those 5.
So, President, based on what you're saying, the committee basically has 2 board members and district staff and two other committee members. I mean, 1 committee member at this point. So you'll be the people who will be interviewing, and the process, as you're suggesting, is if we could just interview the 3 to 5, which I totally agree. Sounds great. Thank you.
Further questions or comments by the board?
Oh, I sounds fine to me. I was okay. I mean, the president has always had the privilege of assigning committee appointments. So I was okay with it the way that it was, because that's, but certainly okay with that. And whoever is on the facilities committee are the 2 board members that are collaborating on that. So sounds fine to me.
Do we want to get into the details of it, or can the facilities committee decide exactly how we do this, whether it's during the facilities meeting, or if we start the facilities meeting half an hour early to give time for the...
I think that we have to give the facilities committee the wherewithal to be nimble and decide, because if you have two people apply sometime, then you would handle it differently than if you have 39 and you got to narrow it to 5 and you're going to look at 5. So my view is the 2 board members that are on the committee can decide the form, if you will, of figuring it out.
Is everyone good with that?
Yeah, I agree that facilities committee, because they're going to become your team member.
Very well. Moving on to item 13, calendar. Wednesday, September 13th is the next Safety Committee meeting at 3:45 p.m. here in the district boardroom. Wednesday, September 20th is the next regular board meeting at 7 p.m. here in the boardroom. Thursday, September 21st is the next facilities meeting at 6:30 here in the boardroom. And Monday through Friday, October 2nd through 6th is the fall break, and the district schools will be closed. In a moment, we will adjourn to closed session where we will discuss my computer jumped, sorry, where we will discuss public employee discipline dismissal release complaint, Government Code 54957, consider approval of long-term leave of absence for certificated employee, conference with real negotiators, Government Code 54956.8, public employee employment evaluation superintendent, Government Code 54357.6, and get it again, sorry, I'm getting used to a new computer here. And item E, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, Government Code 54956.9. Do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn to closed session.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Boulay and seconded by Trustee Clements, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're now adjourned. Thank you all for being here tonight. Returning to open session at 10:02 p.m. The board took action on a motion by Trustee Clements and seconded by Trustee Boulay to approve the unpaid long-term leave of absence for certificated employee 130403 from August 25th, 2023 through October 9th, 2023 by the following vote. 5 ayes, no nays, no absent, no abstentions. I will entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
On a motion by Trustee Clements and seconded by Trustee Boulay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are now adjourned. Thank you and have a good evening.